What's going on, everybody? Jorge Aquino coming to you live and direct. This is, of course, Tormenting Tarmac. It's the podcast where the enthusiast never dies. Hope everybody's having a fantastic evening or day or morning, wherever and whenever you might be listening to. We hope that I hope that I am some sort of form of entertainment and or knowledge or just make you crack a smile or something of that nature. Um, we are on the road to 200 episodes. If I'm not mistaken, this is going to be episode number 188. Very, very exciting. We're going to start doing little major countdowns starting at 190, but we've kind of already gotten in the flow of it. It's like 200 is just around the corner. And I'm just like, man, to think that I've been up to doing no good for the last 4+ years is a really funny and interesting thought. Yeah, thank you, bro. Thank you. It means a lot. So I'm super stoked. As always, Tormenting Tarmac tries to go ahead and take you all over the spectrum, whether it be here in the Phoenix metropolitan area, whether it be on the West Coast of the United States, whether it be the North or the South. Tonight, we go a little bit more Southeast. Tonight, we actually go into the mecca of hip hop, at least the way I like to view it. We actually, my guest is calling in all the way from the ATL in Atlanta, Georgia. Jack Murphy is an individual who has really been blowing up over on Instagram over the last few months as you know, uh, I guess an Instagram personality, but his main focus has really been wanting to go ahead and showcase kind of the marketplace of your favorite enthusiast car of the early 2000s for and whatever also manufacturer as well. And it's been a real cool insight, especially the last few months where he's been really dropping all this data for us and things of that nature. Me as a geek about this, I've been really, really enjoying it. And him and I have been Instagram friends for a while now, courtesy of our boy Dylan Orlock over at Dopon Registry. And I had to reach out to Jack and be like, "Yo, why are you not coming on the pod?" And he's like, "Dude, I'm game. Let me know." And here we are. So Jack at Boss Time CEO on Instagram is joining me this evening, fresh off of 10K on his Instagram followers. So salute to you, my brother. Welcome to
Thank
Tormenting
you, bro.
Tarmac, my friend. How are you, man?
Great, man. Great. After years of now seeing clips, or you probably a year and a half of seeing clips now, I'm like finally on the show. So it's great to finally be here talking to you, bro.
Dude, it is my pleasure. No, but the funny thing is that you started following me probably a couple years ago, and I followed you right
Yeah.
back. And you followed me off of maybe like the third or fourth appearance of both, Dylan and shout out to Big J Jordan, of course, and whatnot. And I saw your stuff, and I was like, oh, this dude is hella dope. I need to go ahead and give him a follow right back. And we kind of clicked, just on a variety of different things and whatnot. But over the past few months, as I mentioned in the intro there, you've been really focusing on, an interesting point on where we are with the enthusiast car market. And you're looking at it from probably the same way that I look at it of like logic. But for me, there's obviously a lot of emotion invested into it too. Because sometimes I see some cars that I'm just like, why is that price? That makes no sense and whatnot.
Right.
And you look at it from the perspective of like, just, hey, listen, this is what it is. You posted something actually really interesting, and I think it had to do with the Ferraris, like maybe like 2 weeks ago or something. And I was fascinated by the amount of research that you were doing. So let me kind of go start right there with you, Jack. When you are now prepping these new types of videos where you're breaking down, the market, data points, things of that nature, how much research is going into it from the beginning? Like before you even decide to go ahead and put that video out, like how much time are you spending looking stuff up, making sure everything is valid?
I mean, so for the most part, I mean, I'm like so car obsessed and I've been for so long, and then I've worked in it, and then I've just like even outside of work, like I'm always talking cars with friends, kind of always staying on top of things. So for the most part, kind of my takes are based off of like kind of just my gut and what I feel. But when it comes to like real technical specifications and stuff, some of them I just know offhand, and others I have to do a little bit more research. You mentioned the Ferrari post where I had all of like the production numbers.
Yes.
Those are so up in the air. Those are so like controversial. Where some people say 3,000 of a certain car were made, other people say 1,200. When you look online, like I don't want to go off of what someone I know that claims to be a big Ferrari guy says when there's 30 other people online saying something different. So for something like that, I kind of like you just kind of have to do your best to sift through the information you're getting and figure it out, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah, because the Ferrari market is so weird, dude. Especially now. I feel like we're living in a very, you know, as you look at the history of Ferrari going all the way back to the 50s and whatnot, you can tell that there's eras of like they were hitting it, and then there's eras of like, so much. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
there's also those cars from those not so much eras that all of a sudden start to go ahead and creep up on people, and you're just like, oh, how the hell is this now worth that money when nobody wanted to buy it to begin with, and things of that nature. I feel like we're in that right now. We're seeing SF90s drop in value like crazy. We're with the exception of like the special SF90, which if there's really such a thing, even 296s, they're low key losing some value and whatnot. Purasangways are losing crazy value. I've said this on the podcast on a multitude of occasions, and I stick by what I say. My favorite Ferrari on the market today might actually be the Purosangue. Do you know how weird it is for me to say that as a Ferrari aficionado, that their FUV is my favorite car on their market?
No, that's totally valid. It's got a V12, so
It's got a
you get to
V12, so it's
you're allowed to make
psychotic,
that
right?
number wrong.
But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
weird it's weird to go ahead and say that, during a time where the Dodici Cylindri is a thing, which I'm very hit or miss on the Dodici Cylindri. Like the performance is absolutely incredible. It's really rad, but the looks of it are really, really subjective. Like it's really like
Yeah.
you either love it or you're not about it. And it is that if there was ever a Ferrari that was spec dependent, boy, howdy, is it the Dodici Cylindri like crazy. Like you
Yeah.
have got to get the right spec in order for that car to look good. And so like it's more misses and hits for me right now, bro. Like you're seeing all that and whatnot. Like, the math isn't mathing all the way sometimes, is it?
No, it isn't. I mean, I don't know, man. These new cars are so expensive too that like it's so hard to justify like buying a 12 cylindry when it's like that car is going to cost you, you know, 450 to $550,000
On the
base
cheap end.
on the
Mm-hmm.
cheap end of things. You're probably going to spec something out to like the 600 range ish. I mean, that used to be like a $380,000 cap with
Yeah.
like MSRP's 450K like max for like a F12. And now you're looking at like $300,000 more for like the max spec. It's just like it's gotten crazy. It's gotten so out of hand, like on the OEM side of things as well.
It's gotten ridiculous. And the funny thing is that we live in a time frame where you can still be able to go ahead. You can get an 812, whether it be a superfast or a GTS, for like 150 grand cheaper. And I'm sorry, I'd take an 812 any day of the week, not once, not twice, but three times on Sunday, homie. Like
Yeah, yeah.
812s are really that is the car. That is the car right now and whatnot. So when I see people wanting to go ahead and order the Dodici Cylindris from new, I'm like, hey, you know what? Congratulations. You can go ahead and drop 650 grand specced up. Like, congrats. That's awesome. But I also feel like this is one of those times with those Ferraris, they're not going to hold value the same way that they were maybe 10 years ago from brand new. It just doesn't seem to be that way. And I wonder if Ferrari knows that, or I also wonder what Ferrari's mentality is when they say you have to buy this car in order for you to get the good stuff, and then the good stuff comes out. It's like it's really not that good. I
Yeah.
would, you know,
Yeah, I mean it's weird because these guys like there's so many Ferrari VIPs that are like so far in, and then they'll think that they're set up to get like whatever car they want. Like people that have spent millions of dollars over the years to get up to the level where they should be getting offered like an SP3 or something, and then that offer just never comes, like never shows up going their way. And so there's a lot of people like that I've met that have been in the VIP program long enough time that still haven't quite gotten bumped up to that level yet where they're getting like soon to be the SP4 allocation, things like that. Like they already know they're not going to be getting something like that. And they're like, these are people that bought SF90XX that have bought like all the big cars. It's like, that's when things kind of get tough too. So yeah, it's weird. I don't know what their selection process is. I'm not familiar if it's on the dealer end when it comes to the Icona
uh-huh.
series cars, if the dealers are giving out allocations, or if I think it's the OEM that actually does that for the big cars.
I
So
gotcha.
yeah, it gets so tricky and political with it.
It gets dude, the politics over at with Ferrari are just insane. It's not something that it is. very selective, but then like I don't feel like you get the exact amount of actual choice that you would think you do. I feel like at the end of the day, they're still the ones that are determining what it is that you're actually going to get. Like you get to a car, you can spec it, but it's like, no, we wouldn't recommend you specing it that way. And then it's like they kind of low key make you change your mind on some stuff. And you mentioned SP4 coming and whatnot. I don't know what that's going to be all about, because obviously SP3 and SP2 and SP1. But like, imagine if you went ahead and spent all that money on you bought a Persongway, you bought an SF90, and you took a $600,000 hit. Like, you took a bath on an SF90. You took, you went ahead and bought yourself a Roma, and now you went ahead and just bought yourself an Amalfi and things of that nature. You're ready for SP4, and then it comes out and it's going to go ahead and have the same engine that's in the F80, but in the front. Like, imagine. I'm not saying that that's going to be the case, but imagine
Yeah.
if you were
Yeah.
in that position, and then you can finally
Right.
buy it, and you're like, "Oh, kick rocks, bro! You're going to make me spend $2.5 million on that? That's insane."
Right. When the last car, the SP3, was something where people worked their way up, got off for the car, bought it, and then resold it for $8-9 million.
Right.
Like that would hurt. You finally hit that level, like one car too late, and then you're suddenly like, you're stuck with a multi-million-dollar car you don't even want.
I know. Tell me about it. Well, you mentioned that you get stuck on one car too late. You get stuck at one car too late. I feel like that's the generation that we're kind of living in right now because of the way that everything's starting to shoot up. I sent you a post yesterday from Haggerty, and I saw it and I sent it to another friend, and it talked about in the last like 5 years the percentage shoot up on certain enthusiast vehicles and whatnot. One of them being, and this, so on the entire list, it was like Ferrari Enzo was in there, which we all know that that's kind of gotten completely out of control at this point. It's been out of control for like 15 years, but now it's gotten really out of control. Like, especially
Yeah.
after
Oh,
the numbers
totally.
we saw at Mecum, there was like
Yeah.
other Ferraris on there and whatnot. And then the biggest percentage jump of all the cars that were on that list, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for this? It was a Mitsubishi Eclipse. The
Yeah.
Mitsubishi Eclipse having a 65% jump. Now,
Pretty
granted,
crazy.
which is pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. I'm not saying that an Eclipse is like $150,000 cars these days, but considering what you could get yourself, like, if you're a big fan of the Eclipse, in particular, I guess the second generation is the one that I'm referring to, the one from the Fast and the Furious, obviously. Um,
Yeah.
Brian's car, the green one, that one in particular, I think that's a GST. So, but the car that you really want is the GSX. The GSX is the all-wheel drive with like, I'm pretty sure it's a detuned Evo motor. I think it is.
Okay.
I think it's a
Wow.
2 liter.
I
I
wasn't
think it was
aware.
a I think it's a 2 liter 4 cylinder, very, very similar to the Evo, to the Evos, maybe detuned and maybe a couple of things different, but they're both 2 liter 4 cylinders. And in the GSX, I think it made like 240 horsepower, and it had all wheel drive, and it weighed less than three. It was like probably like very, very, very low 3,000 pounds, not quite 3,000 GT weight, which is like almost 4,000. It's insane. But there was a time where you could go ahead and get those on the cheap end, bro, for under 10 grand. Like, no
Oh yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
GSTs you could
They're
get for like 6 or 7. And you were like, oh, cool. When was it? Like 6 months ago, I looked up GSXs and they were like 25 or 30. And I was like, pause for one hot second, dude. Like, now we're starting to lose Eclipses. I thought that was the only car we had left, bro. Like,
I know. I know. But it makes sense. I mean, they're cool. And
yeah,
then you look at what these manufacturers are making nowadays and it just doesn't come close. Like
it doesn't come
nothing's cool.
close.
The wing from factory was so cool. Like everything about that car was so cool. So
Dude, I
yeah.
mean, it was so cool. Like, Mitsubishi Eclipses, I feel like are one of the most underappreciated JDM cars from the 90s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I just mentioned an Evo. When you think of Mitsubishi, what's the first enthusiast car you think of? You think of every single Evo from 1 through 10, right?
Yeah.
And then you think of a Pajero, probably. And then you maybe think of a 3000 GT, and then you think of an Eclipse, even though Paul Walker's character, Brian O'Connor, made it so iconic, obviously, in the first Fast and the Furious. But even then, it's not
Yeah.
the most iconic car in the movie. The most iconic car in the movie is probably the orange Supra and then the black Charger. The Eclipse kind of falls behind that. And even to an extent, like, even the Civics are probably more as popular as the Eclipses, as the Eclipse is in the film and whatnot. So to me, the Eclipse has always been a little bit under the radar and whatnot. And to go ahead and finally start to see, I'm glad that it's getting its love, but there's a difference between it's getting its love and then, oh no, now we're starting to go ahead and have Eclipses get a little bit out of control too. Like a 65% jump is very, very, very crazy.
Yeah, insane. I mean, but it tracks like a lot of the. I mean, there's a lot of sleeper cars that have been seeing that kind of same appreciation, at least in the last like year and a half to 2 years. Most recently, it's crazy that the Eclipse has jumped that much. But like the Deltas, the Integrales,
Uh-huh.
those are like if you want to find a nice yellow or red Integrale with like under 50,000 miles on it, you're probably going to be shelling out 140,000.
That's a
That's
lot,
a lot. I mean, that was 75 to 80 grand. Like
which was
I'm talking
still a lot.
2021, still a lot of money. But I mean that car. I mean that car is like you look at the capability of that car. It's a Corolla GT with or the GR Corolla, but like from back in the day. But somehow it's around the same power figures. So I mean, it makes sense that it's so cool. But I mean, you can just get a GR Corolla nowadays if you really are chasing for the pure driving experience for
Yes.
way cheaper.
And
But
with a
obviously, I'm
warranty.
not going to. I don't want to make that's a very bold comparison to make because
No,
that's
no,
one
no.
of my
I
favorite
hear you.
cars of all
I hear
time.
you. I'd say the same thing about people. I'd say the same. It's like, okay, well, you can go ahead and have a Delta Integrale where you can drop 140 grand, or you can go ahead and drop 45 grand on a Civic Type R or 40 grand on a GR Corolla. What do that's
Right.
that is a thing that you could say, or you could even say, or you can go ahead and drop 25 to 30 on a Focus RS. Like that's a genuine conversation to be having with folks and stuff like that. But again, if you're
Yeah.
willing to go ahead and be spending 140 to 150 grand on an Lancia Delta Integrale, you're not looking at it from the perspective of like, oh, I'm going to daily drive this thing. You're looking at it because, okay, you're
It's like a
probably
Ferrari.
you're a collector
Yeah.
at this point. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
I agree. And that's why I
it
think it's cool. It's one of my favorite cars. But if you're purely driving it, yeah.
yeah, I hear you. Well, you're a man of taste, obviously, but you seem to be a little bit younger than I am here, Jack, because you just turned, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, yeah, that's right. Happy belated, bro. Your birthday was just
Thank
last
you,
week.
brother.
That's very true.
Thank you,
My
bro.
man just turned 26 over here. So right? 26 or
26, yeah.
27. Yeah. So you're an old man at this point. Welcome to the club, bro. I'm kidding. I'm just
Thank
messing
you.
with you. But like,
Thank you.
you you being a little bit younger than I am, you didn't grow up on Lancia Delta Integrales and whatnot. Not at least in period. You would have grown up in the 2000s. Was there anything in particular when you were growing up that to where you are now today that really has stuck with you that you love to go ahead and see from the outside that you maybe perhaps you didn't expect to go ahead and be as loved as it is now, but you kind of love seeing
Yeah.
it, see the spotlight. What are your thoughts on that? Anything in particular?
I had this mobile game where I would go racing, and it had the car on the cover of it was a bright green Focus RS, the 5 cylinder. I think it
Yeah.
was the Mark. What is it? Mark is the newest one is the Mark IV. So it's the Mark III, or is it the
I think it might have been Mark 3. Yeah, yeah, because it would have been
Mark
like oh
III?
eight to 10 right around there, something
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah, like
right?
2008. Yeah, like the
Yeah.
bright green front wheel drive 5 cylinder shooting flames. That car was like dream car status for me as a kid. You couldn't get it in the US, obviously. People would bring them into Mexico and stuff, but you couldn't really get them on the road in the US. Still to this day, you can't quite yet. But yeah, I mean, that's a car that I've heard of collectors looking for them overseas. People are kind of starting to stock up on them. Like that's a car that is for sure going to pop. The second people can bring them to the US, I think we're going to see a lot of foreign cars get scooped up. That's going to
That is
blow. But
so
that was the
interesting.
most nostalgic for me. Growing up, that was like
Yeah.
the era I grew up in, I guess. So
No,
yeah.
I mean, that's a good era. I think that in the mid to early 2000s, there was some stuff that is underappreciated and undervalued then, and I think you can maybe still scoop up. It's funny because you bring up that Focus RS, and the thing I thought you first, you all we here in the United States, didn't we get the Focus SVT? That's what we got,
We
right?
did. The
Yeah.
blue one, I remember it as the spec being like blue with like the blue seats in it or something, right?
Yep, yep. But it was
Right.
nowhere near as dope as the RS because I'm pretty sure it just had a regular 4 cylinder in it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
much about those, but I know I had a Focus ST for a while, but
Oh, you
I just
did?
yeah. Oh yeah.
No. I had
Yeah. Oh
one
yeah.
too. What year was
Oh no
yours?
way. I had a
Yeah.
2016 and I owned it for like 5 years. Sold it
Oh,
like in
nice.
23, and
Okay.
I love that car. I mean, I drove that car. I drove like 100,000 miles on that car. I
That's
absolutely
funny.
loved it. Yeah, man.
Really? Okay.
Oh yeah.
I had a 2014. So you got the what do you call it?
The LCI.
The LCI, and what was the name of the MMI system that the upgrade?
Oh,
You
the
got the you
four.
got the sync upgrade, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
I
So
did.
I
So
had it
I got CarPlay on mine. I think I had CarPlay.
I
I could be
yeah.
mistaken. I don't,
Yeah, I'm sure you did because I did not have CarPlay on mine, and my Bluetooth worked every once in a while. It was a really. Let me tell you something. I'm so happy that you loved your Focus SC because I low key did have a love hate relationship with mine.
really? Oh
Yeah, yeah.
man.
I liked it. I liked it. I really did like it, but there were times that I just was like, "Oh my god, I hate this car right now." Um, so like, give me one second, Jack. My sons don't understand that podcasting night in America is happening, and they like to go ahead and slam on the door. Hold on.
No, you're good. You're good. One second.
But I had my Focus ST. I owned mine for 2 years. And in the 2 years, I put a little over 50,000 miles on mine. I
Okay.
bought it.
Wow.
Yeah. So I put a good chunk of mileage on it.
Good
I
stuff.
bought it with like 49,000 miles and then I got rid of it at about 106. Um, I'm really curious to get your thoughts because you said you owned it for about 100,000 miles. Was yours tuned at all or was it pretty stock?
No, it's pretty stock. I had a
So
resonator delete on it, and then the rest of it I just left. I put drop in air filter, resonator delete, and then just like hands off. That was it.
exactly. So mine was completely stock too. And I think that was the only reason why my engine didn't blow up. Because
Yeah.
my understanding is that the 2 liter four cylinder, the EcoBoost and the ST is not as reliable as I'd like for it to be. And thankfully, my car did not have any issues. But the amount of people that I was hearing have issues at 50 or 60,000 miles with their Focus STs, it terrified me, bro.
Really.
Terrified. Yeah, I was hearing that.
I mean,
But
that's
I also think
probably
that there,
trying to push 400 wheel with like
which you
minimal
should never
modifications. You
do. Not
know?
with the Focus ST.
Yeah.
Not with the Focus
Yeah.
ST. The Focus RS obviously had a different engine, and
Mhm.
it was a lot more reliable when it had the correct heads on it. Obviously, was it had gaskets. Excuse me, at the heads, the correct head gaskets. Obviously, that was that little fiasco where they put the Lincoln head gaskets instead of the Focus RS gaskets, and then people had to get them changed. If I'm not mistaken, was that what that was? The
Can't
head
remember.
gasket
I'm
issue.
not sure. I'm not familiar with
Yeah.
that.
But either way, like my car was good. Here was a couple things that made me upset. The fuel economy on the Focus ST is actually horrific.
It is pretty bad.
It's
Yeah, you're right. It is pretty bad.
it was so bad because it was like a 13-gallon tank. You couldn't get 300 miles of a full tank. You usually got like about 270, 280.
It would always
Uh,
show 300 though, but then it
it
wouldn't
always
actually.
showed 300, but it was lying.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then yeah, and then it was to me the Focus ST suffered a little bit from being too heavy. Would you agree?
I don't know. I mean, I
You
was
thought
driving the hell out of that car in the
fair.
canyons, and I was in Northern California with that car, and I just was I was beating the hell out of it. I didn't struggle with like the weight, but I mean, then again, like I was used to driving like my mom's like Acadia and stuff like that before I
Fair
had my.
enough. Totally
So
valid.
anything compared to that, I'm like all in. So I guess I didn't have the experience. I got that car when I was like 19, I think.
Sure.
So they're 20. Yeah. But yeah, either way, yeah. I 19. I don't know. I don't know when it was. Like 18? Either way, whatever. Yeah.
That's a great car
I
to have at 18. Let me tell you
it
something. That
was.
is such a good car to have at 18 because here's one of the absolute easiest cool things and best things about that car was it was such a great car to drive stick. It was so easy to the clutch was really light. The shifting mechanism, all about like that was I thought it was a great 6 speed. I thought it was perfectly good, and whatnot. It was like if you were a beginner and you wanted a beginner hot hatch, if you bought yourself a Focus or a Fiesta ST, you wouldn't have been disappointed. Because like for
Yeah.
me, I hadn't driven six stick in a very very long time prior to me buying the Focus ST, And when I did, I was like, oh man, I couldn't have bought a better car for me to get back into daily driving 6 speed. And it was great. It was fantastic. Um, I guess the weight issue for me was because I was comparing it to a Fiesta, and the Fiesta is like probably like 600 or 700 pounds lighter. So it's like
Yeah, yeah.
so it was like, it's a little bit tough, but overall, it could handle. It was, oh, dude, because I took it out in the canyons here, and I was like, oh yeah, this thing can boogie, bro. That was the love part of it. The hate part of it was daily driving it. The love part about it was when you went ahead and took it into the places where you're like, oh, this has no right of being the way that it is right now. It's so good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure. The auto brake saved me as a teenager with that car, with rolling backwards on hills
The
and stuff
roll,
like that. It
the
was,
roll assist was
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah,
I don't care if I get called, if I get called a pussy for using that and whatnot. I don't care. I would much rather have roll assist work for me and not me roll into somebody on a hill than not, bro. I'll take it any day. I couldn't agree with
hundred
you more.
percent.
That is so good.
Because it's not like you're not capable of doing it. It's just
No,
it's such a hassle. You have to like work for it, and that's not the part of driving manual that you like to work for.
not at all.
That's like the bad part. That's the
That's the
only
bad
like
part.
bad
That's
part.
the crappy part. A hundred
Yeah. So
percent.
it's
Like
I'll
that.
leave the crappy part.
I'm with you. It's like it makes me so
Yeah.
mad that it took him that long to go ahead and figure out a good roll assist and whatnot. You know what I mean? Because like imagine being in the early '90s or in the late '80s or in the '70s and you're driving a stick shift and all of a sudden your car's rolling back and shit like that. Like, no, I would have much rather have had that than cruise control. I'll tell you that right now. Like, come on,
Hundred
bro.
percent. 100%. Yeah.
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 The values on Focus STs, even to this day, are so much lower than people realize. Ford Focus RSs have held quite well. Focus STs to me are the best value you can they're even Fiesta STs are a little bit they're closer to a Focus ST than you would think. So when you really think about it, the best value for the money is probably the Focus ST. Because I think you can go ahead and still find them under 20 grand. And
Oh, all the way under 20 grand. Yeah. I was just looking
100%.
last week for a friend. And yeah, you can get like a 28 to like 30 something thousand mile car for like 15 grand, 16 grand. It's
I think
like
you're cooking at that
that's a
point.
perfect car.
Like that's a
Yeah.
great, it's but just the one thing that I always have to warn people about a Focus SC, and you could probably talk about this too, is like it's an autocross car. It is absolutely an autocross car. So if you're daily driving it, it's going to go through tires way worse than you expect because of like the camber setup and whatnot. Is literally set up to go ahead and go slalom racing or go on autocross and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
learned that the hard way. I was like at 15,000 miles, the inside of my tires were basically cooked, and I was like, oh man, this
I guess
stinks.
that's right.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about it, but you're right. I did go through I I don't know. I mean, I would say I probably went through more tires in my Focus than I did like in most other cars. I mean, maybe I
right.
mean because I was also going into corners, front wheel drive, mashing it, like it was wearing away like that. But I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, that car did cook through tires for sure.
it cooks through tires, but still
The
a
weight could have
great
been a part of it too, like you were talking
weight.
about. That could be a
Absolutely.
huge
Well,
part
because
of
like I
it.
think if I'm not mistaken, I think of Focus ST is probably like high 33, low 3,400 pounds and whatnot. Um, I could understand why they did not give it more power because obviously that was the whole purpose of the Focus RS because the Focus RS ended up making like 340, whereas an ST only made like 260, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And I which I totally understand, but like I think I've always thought that that particular generation ST, if Ford would have given it like high 200s out of the box, I think that car would have been perfect. Like you give that like
I think so too. Yeah.
right, like 290, 285. I think that's a perfect amount of power for that car.
But even stock, the torque
Torque
steer was
steer.
pretty nuts. I mean,
It was, dude.
I don't think they could have put out a car with 300 and something horsepower if it was like if they didn't fix that torque steer because that would have sent people into a ditch. Like,
Yeah, I remember one time like hopping on the I-10 here in just south of us and down in Tucson where I used to be from, and I'm like, there was nobody around me, so I hop on the entrance ramp and I freaking gunned it, bro. Like power shifting like at 6,200, like because I think. That's right about like where peak boost is, because you don't want to, like, I think 65, you're already, the turbo starting to lag at that point. So you had to like really shift it like right around like 6 grand, right? And I'm
Yeah.
just doing it perfectly. And I'm like, whoops, what? And I'm like looking around, I was like, yo, this thing, even on a down, this was on a downhill to be quite fair. But I was like, yo, this thing is picking up pace, man. Like
Yeah.
at pace in the canyons, a Focus ST, boogies, boogies, bro. There's It
Just
can
as
keep
fast
up
as
with
anything.
anything. It
Yeah.
They're
Literally.
fantastic. I
Yeah.
I really enjoy. I'm so happy that you had a good time with your 100,000 miles you put on that baby. That's what's up, bro.
Close to it. Close to it. I think I sold it with like low to mid 90s, but I bought it with like none on it. Well, like, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I did have one issue that was fixed via a not the warranty, but a recall. There was a recall on mine where like I think it was the fuel tank was starting to kind of compress a little bit and whatnot. So Ford went ahead and had me take it back to the dealership, and I got a brand new fuel tank and whatnot. But other than that, like I never really had issues with that car. When it hit about 104, 105,000, I did have a vacuum leak, which all of a sudden was made the car idle very, very high. I got it fixed, and from that point, it never did it again. And then I had the shock start leaking at about like 104, 105,000 miles and whatnot. But again, a shock leaking, what's that going to do? So you're going to ride a little bit, you're going to ride a little bad from the back. Other than that, like, it was it was good. I didn't like having to go ahead and put in premium into it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that was kind of stupid for like what you'd think would be a cheaper 4 cylinder,
Yeah.
because I mean, that car had what, like a $23,000 MSRP or something.
I think
So
so. I'm pretty sure.
requiring premium gas is crazy. Like, yeah.
Yeah. But overall, it was quite the ripper. I really enjoyed my time with it. And again, just a little love-hate relationship, but it's more love than hate. But daily driving, it was obviously not the greatest thing. At least for you, you were able to enjoy it. But like me being a family man and having a car seat in the back, I'm like, yo, this is not conducive to my lifestyle at this particular moment in time.
Yeah. That's
You
so
know.
valid. So
But when I
valid.
think about it though, like if somebody like offered me the keys to a Focus RS, I'm like, I'll take them right out of their hands, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would too. That's genuinely going to be a cool car. It's a cool car right now, but that's going to be like a really cool car when like scarcity kicks in and like
Right.
people put miles on all of them and crash all of them and there's like none left. Like that'll be a really cool, rare car to have in like 20 years.
Exactly. Well, because it came out during a time where like it and the Civic Type R came about right around the same time. I think like a year difference. And then the Golf is starting to get a little bit softer because Golf R came out during that time frame too. But the Golf R was still, although very cool. That would have what Mark 7.5 on the Golf R, I think.
Where they're at right now?
No, when it first came out in 2016, I think it was like
Oh,
Mark
that was like
7.
Mark 7. I think that was Mark 7 flat Golf
Mark
R.
7 flat, right? Okay, cool. So like
Yeah.
the Golf R is a little bit softer, and then the Focus RS comes out, and the Civic Type R, and it was kind of like this little golden era that started to kind of come about. Like probably the last real golden era that we got of the hot hatches. And even though we live in a time frame where a GR Corolla and a Civic Type R can still be bought brand new, but that's really the only options. I don't consider a Golf GTI obviously a competitor to those cars. Those cars are well above what a Golf GTI does, and a Golf R is a $55,000 car these days,
Yeah.
new,
Yeah.
which is insane.
Close to it, isn't it? I think a
Yeah,
spec'd out one is over 50 grand. Yeah.
it's insane. And then you can't get a manual on a Golf R anymore. You can only get a dual clutch.
Can you? I didn't know that.
At
Oh,
least here in the
is it a
United
dual
States.
clutch?
I think in the United States it is. Yes, it might be different in Europe, but I'm pretty sure in the United States you can only get a dual clutch. I think.
It's not a ZF8 or something. Is it? Like, is it a torque
Wait. So
converter?
it's their DSG. Is their DSG a dual clutch? The one from Volkswagen? I think it is. Is it
I
not?
don't know. I don't know. I think it might be.
Yeah.
I would hope it is because the at least in the Beamers, like the BMWs with the dual clutch are genuinely like race cars. They feel like it when you
Yes.
drive them. And the manuals are really good, but both of those transmissions are like totally valid. But if you were to compare the manual versus like the ZF8, I think is what they use in all the new ones, it just
Yes.
doesn't do it. Like it's just like you're hitting a button and the car is just like emotionless kind of. I don't know.
Well, it's funny that you say that because, like, we're going to talk about your car in just a second because I happen to love your car. I think it's fantastic. I think it's one of the top 10 best BMWs of all time. genuinely, and it's closer to 5 than it is to 10. You know what I mean? And I was having a couple of conversations with a couple of different folks. The new G87 M2CS just went live, and it's with all the reviews coming out and everything like that. And for the most part, I think all of us can agree that the G87 M2CS looks 10 times better than a regular G87 M2. Like, way better. The wheels look terrific. The bodywork, it's way more aggressive. Like, BMW to me really made up for what the looks of a regular M2 and G87 form are. 100%. And to be fair, they did the same thing with the CS models for both the G80 and G82. But the one thing that people don't really like is that it's got the 8-speed auto. And the 8-speed auto is just a regular 8-speed auto. Whereas the F87, you could either get the 6-speed manual or you got the 7-speed dual clutch. And now I drove an M2CS, littles makes no difference, 4.5 months ago. And obviously that is the spiritual successor to your car, which you have a BMW 1M, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I think the 1M and the M2, at least in F87 form, to me, like, that's the direct successor of that car, right? They're so, especially the first generation M2, because it does have, your car has is it the N54?
N54.
N54, yeah. And then the M2, the first generation M2 gets N55 until it goes to comp, which obviously gets the S55. So that's basically, littles makes no difference, the spiritual successor. BMW looked at the 1M and said, oh, we need to remake that, but we need to go ahead and sell it to mass market, not make it a limited production, where your car is limited production. So that means that it actually is kind of rad as hell. How many 1Ms did they make, Jack?
6,000 and some change in the world, but the US got a much smaller slice.
We got a small batch, yeah.
The US got like 700 and some 720, 730 1Ms.
Not a lot.
No, it's not a lot. I think like the color split. I know there's 400 orange ones in the US,
right?
And then there's like 180 white and like 100 or 200 and something. I know black is the rarest color, actually.
Black is the rarest color? That's interesting.
Black is the rarest color, yeah. But there's very few white and black.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, which one was the press color launch? Was it it was the orange, wasn't it? The press
orange.
Color?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The orange.
Okay.
And despite being the least rare, the orange is the most valuable in the market right now. I think people that own them are keeping them, and the average like orange 1M owner probably has like a couple of cars. Like that's just a car people are throwing in a storage unit, at this point.
Yeah. I'll say this right now. I'm a huge fan of a BMW 1M. I think they're terrific. If you own a BMW 1M, do not keep it in storage. Drive that sucker. You have to. Got. So tell me about it. How long have you owned yours now? Because you had it for a couple of years now?
No, I just got it. I got it in October.
You got it in October? Oh wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I got it in October, and I put it away in storage because I was in Wisconsin still. Basically,
that makes sense. Living in Wisconsin is tough. You're not gonna hear me besmirch anybody for having a 1M in Wisconsin and putting it away for storage for the winter. That's
totally just because of snow. I couldn't drive it. Yeah, so I put it away for 2 months, and then after road tripping it all the way to Wisconsin, and then I after 2 months of winterizing it, brought it out, drove it down to Atlanta, and then now I have it here. But I've put like 10,000 miles on it, I think. So in 3 months of driving it, I think I've racked them up pretty fast.
That's pretty awesome. What was it about the 1M that you were like, that's the car for me? Because it is a special BMW and whatnot. But the cool thing about BMW M throughout its lore is it's got a variety of very special cars from the mark over the last 30 to 40 years. So what was it for you that when you were like, okay, now's the time for me to buy a 1M? What was it about the 1M that made you gravitate towards it?
I went out to Car Week to Monterey, and I was gonna rent a red eye Hellcat, and I was gonna pull up and be doing burnouts and be like one of the F boys in a red eye Hellcat at Car Week.
I love it.
Someone booked it, and so I ended up getting a Miata for that week.
Oh,
the Miata was like the most mind-blowing experience ever. Like it to me was like this ethos of like lightweight car, rear wheel drive in the canyons is the best. And so I had the Miata that year. The next year when I was looking for a car on Turo, I was like, I need to find a car that has like the Miata style to it, but like not a Miata this year. There's so many Miatas out and about in California that I'm like, I just need something different this year because it's car week. Like, it'd be cooler to
Yeah.
pull up in something a little different. So I'm looking, obviously the GT4s are way too much money to rent. They're like thousands of dollars. I found this guy's 1M on Turo and I was going to buy it off of him. I'm like, this thing was amazing. I was driving it, it had 55,000 miles on it. The thing was like amazing. It blew my mind. Bone stock. And I'm like, I'm in love with this car. I wanted to buy it off of him. And then he was just like, dude, I make too much money renting this thing on Turo. Like it rents every weekend and he just got it. And so he's like, I'm not doing it. Like I would have offered him like, like 50 grand for it or something.
Right.
Because it had dings all over it and stuff. But I'm like, this car's great. So then was in the market for a while and was on Facebook for like months and then found one, bought it. But yeah,
That's
that's
so
how.
good.
That's the long
Yeah,
story of
that's the
how
long
I
story. Dude, can I
yeah.
just say, you know how much of a baller you got to be to go ahead and be Turoing a 1M? Like for you to have a 1M in your collection and you think to yourself, I'm going to Turo this car. Like that is an insane flex because I just don't think people quite realize how special of a car the 1M is and how special of a like how special it fit where it lands in the M range in M's history. Like the 1M is BMW thought to themselves, oh, we're going to take a little 1 series and we're going to go ahead and stuff, the engine out of a 335. Obviously, the 340 didn't exist yet and they hadn't twin turboed, the M3 yet, but it was littles makes no difference. That same engine, right? Single turbo instead of twin, obviously. Um, they gave it the same gearing as you would go ahead and get in an E40 or E92. I think it's the
I
same
don't know
gearing.
if the gearing is the same. I'm not sure. It does have the twin turbo from the N54.
Oh, it's the
And then
twin
it's
turbo. It
got
said a single. Oh,
yeah,
okay, my bad, my bad.
it's
Okay,
just no, it's the twin turbo, and I think it's a different. I think it's just the gear ratio off of the. I don't know if it's the same transmission as the 135i. It could
I would.
be.
I wouldn't think it would be just because it's got more. It's got to be a little bit stronger, more robust, right, to handle the power.
Yeah, it is. It's got more power from the
Does it
factory,
make
and it's got a
so? What
lot of the M3 components.
I was gonna say because I think stock a 1M makes like 340.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's
Like right.
the
I think that's
yeah right on the number. And the funny thing is though, it does weigh a little bit less than an M2. Like I think an M2 is like 3,600 pounds. Wasn't what's a 1M like 34 maybe?
Yeah, I think like 33 or 3,400 somewhere in
That's a
there. Yeah,
light car, bro. That's a light
yeah,
car. It's a
yeah.
it's a ripper, dude. And I saw you get it. I was like, yo, that's crazy.
Dude, yeah, I
Oh,
was
man.
so excited, so excited.
Was
Um,
how was the hunt for that car? Was it do you think it was a pretty easy thing to find, or did you really have to go through some like multiple venues to go ahead and find the right one for you?
I was pulling my hair out over it because I'd found like 3 or 4 cars that I really wanted that were like the mileage was right, like the car was right, but the dealer that had the car was just so out of their mind on the price. Where I'm like, I found 3 cars where I'm like, this checks every box, but these guys are crazy what they're asking. 50 and 60,000 mile cars listed for like all the money, like high 60s. I'm like, I can't do that. And
Yeah.
so then I'm on Facebook, I'm looking around, I start joining tons of 1M groups, all of that. And I'm constantly searching on Marketplace, just like moving the radius around the country, just putting in Marketplace, like seeing like what might pop up. One day I search 1M on Marketplace and there's one in Utah. And the guy's asking like low 60s. The car had like 20,000 miles on it. And I'm like,
Whoa.
that's a no-brainer. I'm like, so the whole point was just like, and then my whole ethos for everything I do on the internet is like, cars aren't about like you don't buy a car to put it away to make money. Like
Yeah.
you can do that if you want to do that. And I'm not gonna like tell you not to, but like, you can like buy a car, right? Drive it as much as you want and sell it and not lose money on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm like. So that's what I look at this car and I'm like, yeah, I spent a little bit more than I would have liked to have spent because I had to fix things up and my dumbass did modifications to it and all that. But like, like I mean, I look at the money I spent on it and I'm like, this is just like, a store of value. And
Mm-hmm.
then when it comes time to sell it, if that ever comes. Hopefully it doesn't, because I want to keep
Right.
that car forever. But like, my money just I'll get all of it back. So
Money in,
yeah.
money out type of situation. But you did answer my
Yeah.
next question because I was going to ask you, is this a hold type of situation? It seems like you were going to do everything in your power to try and stay with this car, that it would only be like, oh, I'll get rid of this car if I absolutely needed to, it sounds like.
I would love to be in a financial position where I could be like, this car, put it to the side. I'm always going to drive it, keep it, have it. And then like the next aspirational car I want to go after, I can just like afford that separately. I would
Right.
do that if I could. But like, I don't know. The car guy in me always wants to look for something new and trade into
Sure.
something new and stuff. The like sentimental part of me that like enjoyed that car for so many miles so far, and like every part of the country I was in, that like I kind of want to just keep it. It's a cool car, and I'm inspired by a guy I saw this weekend that had an E30 M3. He bought it in the 90s, and has daily driven it for years.
Oh,
And the
that's
thing is
sick.
rusted and dusty, and he hasn't washed it in 6 years. And I'm like, that's just a badass thing to do. Like, take a
Yeah.
cool car and just drive it like a normal car for years on end, and like you end up with something that's like totally unique. Like the patina on it was nuts. How cool would that be on a 1M? Like,
Oh, dude, I know, right? In 10 years' time, there's patina on a 1M. That would be so sick. That'd be good to remind me that the 1M, the only year that came out was it's a 2012, right?
2011, and that's the only
2011.
year they made
Okay.
them. Yeah,
Only made them in one. Yeah. So again, 5 years later, they knew that they had to make the M2. They just knew.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I love an M2, dude. I adore it. Like adore them. All the
I don't
entire
blame you.
F87.
It's one of the best cars ever made,
It's so
undoubtedly.
good. That's why I had such a tough time when the G87 came out, and I was like, "What are y'all doing, bro? Y'all just because the thing about the 1M and the M2, and I'm not just saying this, and you could even say this for F80 and F82, it is one of the best looking slash most aggressive front ends of any car out there, regardless of make, model, uh, country of origin. Like
Yeah.
the
When the
one
M2
M.
top dropped and it had those little like
Oh,
cut
dude,
cuts in the front, I'm like, that's the hardest. That's so cool. That car is so
it's.
good.
I mean, the
It has the
comp is one
best.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when they dropped the CS, I was like, that's it. That's the car. That's it. That's
Oh, the
game over.
CS is.
The
Yeah. Oh yeah.
CS is insane. So the CS that I drove, funny enough, also the white one, it's Alpine white if I'm not mistaken on the M2CS. And I think that the Alpine white also is the rarest of the CS of the M2CS colors. Very
I think you're
similar.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a friend of mine who that's who let me drive the car. And yeah, so they knew that I was just as big a fan of the car as they were and whatnot. They were like, dude, have you driven a CS? And I was like, I have not been afforded the opportunity yet, unfortunately. And they were like, you need to drive mine. And I was like, say less, bruh. Say less. And I was so in like, it's one of those don't meet your heroes. The M2CS was one of those don't meet your hero cars, right? Because you don't want it to go ahead and be sucky. You don't want it to suck, obviously. You want it to be as great as you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
And I drove it, and it ended up being as great as I hoped it would be. And then I was like, how much are they going for again? Because M2CS is we're living in a time frame, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on this now, Jack. M2CS is with miles are starting to come down. Have you seen them?
I have. I've seen them dip into the 60s, I think.
Yeah, dude. There was one in New York like 4 months, like 3 or 4 months ago. It
Yeah.
dipped as low as little as makes no difference, like 67,000. And I
Yeah.
looked at the miles and it had like 30,000 miles. And I was like, are we in the game, bro? Are we in the now? I'm still a little bit too out of my price range by quite a bit. But knowing the fact that in 2022, M2CSs were still almost 100 grand. And the funny thing is, people will still try to go ahead and put them up at like 90 because they have like 3,000 miles on them. And I'm like, yo, bro, no. I'm not playing that game anymore. I'm not playing that
No.
game anymore. I'm just not like, I'm not even going to go ahead and like, uh, just view that. Like, that's insane. And then even when I
Yeah,
see cars in the 70s, I'm just like, nope, it's still too high.
I agree. I mean, it's the M2 Comp is such a good car that you can
It
get for
is.
like 50 something thousand, like for a really nice one. That like the CS, like the car as a whole is amazing. It's so good. It's one of my favorite Beamers. But like, you can't ask 90 grand for one anymore. When there's so many M2 comps that are on the market for so much less. Like, yeah, I think the like the low 70s probably makes sense in that car,
I would
like
agree.
long term, as well. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, 100, when you get close to 100 grand, people were paying crazy money for those for a little while, like 110,000 for ceramic cars.
Unbelievable. I was just like,
Yeah,
yo, I love that car as much as anybody, but if you're paying 110 grand for an M2CS, what are you doing? The here's where I feel like the it starts to get a little bit tricky because you just mentioned M2 competitions being in the low 50s for like good miles, like 45,000 miles, whatever, which I think is still quite high for an M2 competition, but that's the market. That's where we live in. That's fine. But I do wonder where you start to go ahead and like, cut the cheese and say, this is an interesting crossroads to be in because you can have an M2 competition at like, let's say it's up for 52 grand. It's got 40,000 miles on it. And then you look at an F87 M2CS being at like 68 with like 27 or 28,000 miles on it. And when you go ahead and if you're going to finance this car, which you absolutely can with both of those because they're still within the threshold of time. M2CS is the only made them in 2020, but you can get an M2 competition as late as 2021 before the G87 came out a year and a half later.
yeah,
You ask yourself, the monthly payment is not going to be that different. There's going to be a little bit of a difference, but not too much. Like, am I willing to pay $150 more a month for an M2CS? Why wouldn't I? Right?
true,
I think
true.
that they're valid
And,
questions to ask at that point. The CS has entered a threshold where it makes you reevaluate whether or not you want to just jump into a CS and skip competition altogether.
and then you think about the store of value thing too that we were talking about before.
I would take a CS any day over a comp just because of the
Yeah,
rarity, of course. And it also I mean, it's my personal favorite, but it looks better in every single facet. It's the width of it looks better. I mean, the gold wheels on a fucking CS. I
it's
mean,
just the fully like it's the Charizard of
yeah,
the
it's the char. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, we're
yeah.
naming we're gonna name this episode the BMW M2CS is the Charizard of the M2 line.
There we
It's
go. That's
yeah,
perfect. That's perfect.
that's a good reference. I like that. It just it's a very interesting dynamic. Like, I was telling you before we started recording, there is at current time, now who knows, by the time this episode releases, maybe the car will have already sold. But there is an F87 M2 competition for sale here in the Phoenix area. It's got 90,000 miles on it and it's $35,500.
No way.
It's the
Wow.
cheapest M2 comp I've ever seen.
Wow.
And I'm like, oof.
I wouldn't
Would
even
that
lose money
be
on that.
would that be money worth would that money be worth it at 35 and a half?
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of really cool cars you can get for around 35 and a half that I think
True.
I don't know.
But at M2 competition being at 35 and a half, it makes you wonder. It's not a terrible choice.
If it's your only car, I would say that that's a great pick just because you can do everything in that car. Like, if you really don't have to do, like, if you don't have that many responsibilities, like, you can daily drive an M2 very
Oh, no
easily.
doubt. Do you daily drive your 1M? You basically
Yeah.
do, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I do everything in that car. I drove it down to Atlanta when I moved here and packed it full of all my stuff. Like I drive it. That's my plan with it. I'm like, I'm just gonna make this like my normal everyday car, and
Yeah.
just I feel guilty because I've already beat it up so much compared to when I got it. Just like the PPF is scuffed up from like the from hitting bumps and stuff, but is what it is.
No, hey, dude. Listen, you bought it to drive it, right?
Battle scars. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Battle scars.
Exactly what I did.
You mentioned something earlier where you were saying that if you were in a position to go ahead and look for, because you're the type of individual that happens to like different automotive experiences. I think a lot of us do and whatnot. What would be the car where you would go ahead and say that if you could go ahead and move into something else at a within the threshold of where you are now, what could you be seeing next that you would say, oh, that's different enough from the 1M?
I mean, the I have a car that I've ordered that I'm waiting
Oh,
on.
okay.
And this is a car that like I was offered, and it was like, I don't know, like if this is something that like I should spend a bunch of money on right now or I should hold off on, but it's that Rin FP3, the Formula 3 car for the street, that street legal one.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay. Interesting.
so this car
Interesting.
came out. They deliver it as a three-wheeler and then like a slingshot, and then they turn it into a four-wheel like vehicle. And like it's crazy. I was
Oh,
number 1,815 or something on the list. That was like my order number 1,815. And they have like thousands of pre-orders. And I commented on one of their posts or DM'd it. I swiped up on their story or something, and I was like, I cannot wait for my car. Like I put $100 deposit down, and it was like a 3-year wait, and I'm like, I'll have the money in 3 years. I'll figure that out then, whatever. Then I get a DM back, hey man, we love your page. Do you want to get an early one? And I'm like, yeah. And then so things have progressed. I'm getting the sixth car. It's getting built in a month, and
whoa.
it'll be done in 2 months or 3 months. And like then so I have to figure out how to afford this thing. But like I'm like I think I can. That's a car that I can like feel again like a store of value, like safe putting my
Sure.
money in it, knowing that like I probably can get my money back if I need to at some point. But
Sure.
like the content gonna go crazy with that for
Oh,
sure.
no doubt. Well, like, and it's so funny because now that your page is starting to go ahead and pick a lot more steam, all of a sudden it's like it becomes worth it. It becomes worth it for
Yeah.
them in terms of like, oh, okay, cool. So this new car that not a lot of people have heard of is going to be featured on a page where the numbers are starting to become a little bit more stronger and whatnot. That talk about timing, bro. Talk about
Yeah.
timing.
Exactly. I mean, this is a car that so many people I know have been like trying to get on the list for like early,
I
like
got to
get
take a
pushed
look
up
at this
on.
car real quick because I don't think I've ever heard of it. A Rensport
No, it's the
FP3
Rin. The Rin,
Rin
RYN.
RYN.
RYN FP3. It's like 75 grand. It's a street legal F3 car. And it's like it's crazy. Um they have the first like version of it without the fiberglass body on it, just like the shell of the car, like the frame of the car with the engine and everything. They just made it last week, so it's the first one driving on the street.
Let's see. FP3.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm just looking it up here. Rin Motors. Yo, this is actually a formula car, bro.
Yeah, it's an F3 car for the street.
That's insane.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And it has like
Uh
the detachable wheel with the lights on it and all that. Like it's crazy, bro.
that's you're gonna drive that around Atlanta?
Yeah. I'm
Yo,
pulling
hold
up
on. Let me go ahead and let me got to
everywhere.
do a grocery run real quick. Let me take the the Rim Sport real quick. Yo,
I'm I'm gonna do a YouTube video like the picking up Ubers in my F3 car, and I show up and I have to just cancel the ride. Then that's the whole
yeah, I
video.
was gonna say move over Vehicle Virgins, the newest, biggest Uber video is about to go ahead and be Boss Time CEO over here. That's insane. That's insane. Um, what transmission comes in that? Is that a sequential or what?
It's a sequential, yeah. It's a Hayabusa. So like when I bought, like I have the car like for sure. I have the big deposit down on it and stuff. Like the car is coming, and he's buying a Hayabusa, like a new Hayabusa, taking the engine out and the wiring harness, and then putting it into this car. So that's pretty much what it is. It's like the electronics of a Hayabusa.
Wow, dude. That's pretty
Yeah,
killer. That's so interesting. I'm sorry that
it's
I'm
gonna
just
be it's gonna be crazy. Yeah, I'm excited
yeah.
for it. I mean, that's like the highlight. That's gonna be the highlight of like my life when I
Yeah,
get that
no
car.
kidding, dude. Because it's just
Yeah.
it's so weird. It's so different. Like you're driving around a formula car in downtown Atlanta. Dude, let me tell you
Yeah.
something. So I've been going crazy on my freaking Instagram stories the past couple of days, showing like car chase videos, like of cops, right?
Yeah, I've seen.
It's a guilty pleasure. It's become a guilty pleasure and whatnot. And Georgia State Patrol is obviously one of the most notorious agencies in the country
Oh
of,
yeah.
highway patrolmen that you will not outrun. And if you do, it won't be for very long. Like, they do not mess around. Like, I would say that Georgia State Patrol, what's the other one? Is it Alabama State Patrol? I also heard that you don't want to mess with, and Arkansas Highway Patrol, whatever it is. Those three particular uh, agencies are not to be trifled with, like in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
I have seen videos of and I think it was a BMW F80 M3 one time getting chased through downtown Atlanta, mind you, by Georgia State Patrol. And like, whatever Georgia State Patrol was using, because I think they use Chargers down there, right?
They use Chargers down here, and they're fast as
They're
hell.
fast. They do. I'm telling you right now, Jack. I was like, I remember seeing this Charger keep up with the F80, and I was like,
Yeah.
that Charger
Yeah.
does not have the 5.7 liter Hemi. I was like, I'm pretty sure that thing has a 6.4. It would
Yeah. It's like a
it has
stat.
to. I was gonna say it's
Yeah.
got a Scat Pack motor, and I was like,
Yeah.
there's no way that that's a regular RT and whatnot. And just the Charger was on the F80's ass, and it didn't make any sense either because, mind you, we just said it's a Scat motor. Okay, cool, but it's also still got like an additional 1,000 pounds worth of weight because it's a cop car, and yet it's still on this F80. And I was like thinking to myself, okay, so is this a mixture of like the F80 driver just can't drive, or are the scats that the freaking Georgia State Patrol are using just that freaking fast? And dude, they were on him like white on rice. And then also, like, Georgia State Patrol drivers like really can drive, so like you can't out juke them because they're gonna juke you just as bad. It's so funny, bro. That F80
You
might
go
have had.
up.
Yeah,
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry. What was that?
No,
The
no, no.
F80?
All I was gonna say was that F80, I think, ended up running into a parked Escalade, and I was like, that sucks. That's how that
Oh
ended.
yeah. Oh yeah. Crazy, man. The state police down here is nuts because you go up north and you get crazy roads in Georgia. Like you get
Sure.
mountains like about an hour and a half north of Atlanta. Like you've got like serious like some of the best. You've seen the video of the M2 smacking into the Miata.
Absolutely. That was there,
That
right?
was that was North Georgia. Most people think that was Tail of the Dragon, but it was actually like the roads closest to Atlanta. It's
What's
called
the name
Wolf
of the
Pen
roads
Gap.
that are up there? Is it like Blue Ridge?
Blue Ridge is further north. That's in like North Carolina. The
Is that
ones that are
okay? Gotcha.
in Atlanta, like area like North Georgia, are Blood Mountain is one of
Okay.
them, and then Wolf Pen Gap is the other one. They're incredible. Like they're crazy roads. Like seriously, like you think you're out in Colorado in some parts of it. It's really cool.
Yeah, Georgia's
Um,
I think Georgia's one of the prettier states of the union, bro. I'm telling you.
for sure. Yeah, yeah, it's crazy.
I think it's so wild, but it's so
Oh,
well
but sorry, but
patrolled.
to my
But yeah,
point,
go
to
ahead.
finish that,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
sorry, but to my
please.
point, these state boys are driving these roads in their in their Dodge Chargers and stuff. Like they're cooking on these like when they're going across the whole state, like they know how to drive and they know how to drive on good roads. So yeah, when they get on a highway in a fast car and like have to hit an off ramp, like they're like an exit ramp, like they're gonna be able to do that pretty easily.
Yeah,
They know how to drive.
it
Yeah.
definitely surprised me. Like, and again, I watch these videos and I'm just like, some depends on the state where they are. Like sometimes it'll be like some dude running away in a Hellcat, and I'm just and like they'll downshift twice, and then the Hellcat's gone, and I'm like, and and then the funny thing is they'll start to catch up to traffic, but so it allows the cop to go ahead and get closer, and all of a sudden the gap lessens, and I'm just like, oh boy. This all of a sudden just got really interesting all over again and whatnot. But they're my favorite videos. I saw one earlier this morning of this woman. She's in like a Volkswagen Passat of all things, I think is what it was. So, no, not a Passat. What's the Volkswagen? Like a Volkswagen Touareg or something of that nature. So the SUV. She pulls
Okay.
over, and I'm pretty sure it's, I don't know which law enforcement agency it is, but it's one in the South. It's a it's a highway patrol. And they're guns out because she was doing like 115 on the freeway. Like that, serious speed.
That's probably
Serious.
Florida. That's probably Florida.
Probably.
Florida has it where it's a felony and you go to jail no matter what if it's over 100. No matter if it's 101 or 120. If you're going 101 miles an hour in Florida
Yeah.
on any road, you go to jail. immediately.
I'm pretty sure Arizona's pretty darn close to it as well. I think that if you go ahead and do, I think 30 over, 30 or 35 over is criminal speeding. And I
That's
think four, and then
crazy.
40, 40 gets you, 40 gets you arrested.
Wow.
Yeah. I've
GSP
got,
is bad, but they don't arrest over a lot. If you pull over right away for them, you could be going like 110 miles an hour, and there's a chance you don't get arrested for it.
yeah. But the thing about GSP is you just mentioned that, but a lot of the videos, these people aren't pulling over, which is when GSP starts to get incredibly aggressive because it's like,
That's
okay,
yeah.
yeah, that's where it starts to get really good. So I'm seeing this video, and I don't think it was Georgia State Patrol. I think it was another one. They pull her over, and it's a woman, and she's like, it's an emergency. It's an emergency. I just want, I'm running out of gas. I need to get gas. I'm like, yo, you were doing 120 down the freeway, bro. What are you doing? Of course you were running out of gas. And then they're telling her to go ahead and turn around, put her hands behind her back, and walk backwards towards the officer. And she's yelling, "It's an emergency! It's an emergency!" Yo, Jack, she does this. This is where it gets real crazy. She starts to go ahead and walk slowly back towards her car. And GSP, and then the law enforcement officer, they've got their guns pulled on her and whatnot. And she keeps getting in the car, and she's like, "It's an emergency." Closes the door, puts it in drive, and hauls ass out of there, bro. Just books it.
That's so ballsy, bro.
And it's
That's
insane. And so
crazy.
the officer goes right behind her, and you can hear him talking over the radio. He's like, van or car is reaching speeds over 130 miles an hour. And I'm like, yo, this chick is doing 130 on the freeway. And then he ends up catching up. Kid you not, pit maneuvers her at 130 miles an hour.
Oh man, yeah.
I was
Classic.
like, classic, classic highway patrol right there. And yeah, and then she gets out of the car. She's like, "Why did you guys do that?" I was like, "Yo, this is you can't make this stuff up, bro. You can't make it
I
up."
Yeah, I just saw a video of a guy got away clean. It was in Georgia as well. Got away clean in a new M4. And it was
There
like
you
he's
go.
gone. Like he earned it. He got away clean. And they were hiding in the woods, GSP, with a spike strip, all their lights like off, threw the thing out and surprised him and sent him into a tree. I'm like, this guy got away clean, and here they were like camped out waiting for him to like throw it out.
That's too good. I saw one yesterday, very similar. They threw the spikes down, and it was a guy in a CT5V Blackwing, and he, I think the spikes got like one of his tires, and he keeps going, but he starts to lose control, and so the law enforcement officer gets behind him, and they just mess up the CT5V, and I
Oh
was like,
no.
oh, just
That's a
breaks
stolen
your
car. The
heart.
owner's looking at that going, no, 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 no.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, dude, you were running from whatever agency, like they're gonna get you. If they can drive, they're gonna get you. And
They're in a
honestly,
company vehicle. They will crash their car into
they
yours.
don't care. They don't
Yeah.
care. What was I watching? There was one chase that happened live like last week. It just like out in like rivers, it's like Riverside in California, and they used that shovel thing that's like up at the front of the car. I can't remember what it's called.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they pitted this dude at like 100, and he sent them straight into a wall.
That's
I'm
so crazy.
I'm
Yeah, they
like
have like
not.
the little gadgets on the front of their car. Like they have the
Yep,
bumper, but some of them have like weird shit going on the front. That's dirty as hell,
it's
honestly.
dirty as hell.
Yes.
It's dirty, but it's like at the same time, it's like the homeboy's doing like 110 on the freeway trying to evade cops. It's like
Like at
I
that
kind
point,
of
you
get it.
gotta just yeah, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it depends what the person did, but at a certain point, just get a warrant and like find them later, bro. Like,
True. Well, my thing is that I've always told people this, and or you always see it in the comments. It's like you can never outrun the radio. You just will never be
no,
able to outrun the radio.
exactly. No, I
Yeah,
agree.
like
And I'm sure drones and the all that stuff nowadays is gonna get crazy. I'm sure in the next 20 years we're gonna see like speeding tickets from drones. You know?
oh, I'm not surprised. Yeah, I mean we've had cameras for a long time. We're going to go ahead, and I'm sure law enforcement agencies are going to use drones. You're absolutely right. A lot depending on how much of a budget the law enforcement agency might have, they've got the choppers, so you can never outrun the chopper either.
Yeah.
This isn't like listen, gone are the days of being able to go ahead and have, one of my all-time favorite movies, Smokey and the Bandit. Like I love that movie. There's no way you could go ahead and pull that stuff off now.
It's so sad, man. I
It,
think about
it
that. I think
breaks
about the
my heart,
BS that
dude.
was going on.
Uh-huh.
Man, all the BS that was going on back then was like, you could get away with it, and people would catch you, and they wouldn't look at it like that was so bad of you. They'd look at it like, okay, that was like kind of legendary, like. And then
Yeah.
they make a movie about you one day. Maybe you spend like 5 years in jail, and then you're good. Like,
Exactly. Well, okay, so here's what I did like a couple of weeks ago. Have you ever heard? So obviously everybody knows of the Cannonball Run movie, obviously iconic and whatnot. But there was a movie that came out the year before, which was the Gumball Rally movie. Have you ever heard of this?
oh no, never heard of that.
Yeah, so same concept. They were running from New York to LA and on the Gumball Rally. Obviously, the regular Gumball 3000 now named infamously after that and whatnot.
I didn't know
And
that. Oh
yeah,
wow.
dude, yeah, and it's badass too. It's I think you can buy it for like $4 on YouTube or $4 on
I'll
Fandango
do
or
that.
whatever.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
It's a fun like 95 minutes. Some great cars. Shelby Cobra 427. Like mid 70s G body Targa, 270 Ferrari Daytona, 300 SL Roadster, like all kinds of good stuff in that movie and whatnot. And they're doing the Cannonball Run basically from New York to LA, and it's fantastic. And they're doing the race. They're actually doing a race very similar to the Cannonball, but obviously this came out a year prior and whatnot. And it's like, yeah, you could absolutely get away with that in the 70s. Hell, you know what? My dream is to actually get Ed Bolian on this podcast. Like that's one of my dreams because I'm a big fan
Oh,
of
he's
Ed
one of
Bolian.
the goats. Yeah.
He's
Oh,
one of the
yeah.
goats.
He's one
You
of the
know,
goats. If I ever had any way to, if I was friends with him, I'm not. But like, if I was, I would totally try
well,
my best to.
you have a better in than I do because now you're in Atlanta. So now the next time you go to like a high event, like high level event, you might actually get a chance to see him. I met him
Send me a
once.
tormenting tarmac tea, and I'll be like,
Oh, dude, let's go. I
the
actually I need to go ahead
subtle,
and
the
make
subtle
merch.
like brain marketing.
Absolutely. I need to make a Tormenting Tarmac t-shirt. You know what? You know what? Now that we're reaching episode 200, Jack, I think it's time that we made a Tormenting Tarmac t-shirt. I just need to go ahead and come up with a fun design to go ahead and make it. But I met Ed Bolian like a few years ago because he was here for the Gold Rush rally and he had just got his old orange R8, his orange R8 that he had for a little bit. And he was super nice to me and whatnot. And I've been a big fan of his. He's not that much older than I am. I think he might be like 40 and I'm 36. So we're kind of close in age. It's not anything too crazy.
Is he that young? I thought he was. No disrespect, of
No,
course.
no,
But
no.
I thought Ed Bullion was like in his mid 40s. No.
I, I'm pretty sure he's younger. I think he's so tall and then his voice is so deep that I think everybody thinks
He's
that
got that southern drawl.
he's got the well, he's like a
Not like
real
that. Not like the other guy. The other legend. He just passed away. I forget his name. The guy that was always on the VinWiki. And when they would ask like the best car for the money, he'd be like this super deep southern voice.
I know who you're talking about, and I can't remember
There's
his name.
levels. There's levels to this shit.
There's
Basically, Ed
levels to
Bullion's
this,
on
yeah.
that chart.
Ed Bolian is one of the best storytellers out there, and there's the reason why VinWiki has hit so hard over the past decade plus, and obviously why Car Trek has been such an enormous success. And he's so goated. And but what I want to do is I want to have him on this podcast. I need to ask him like, is a cannonball attempt even feasible? Like really feasible now? Like because you hear like people trying to go for cannonball runs, but like, and yeah, there's a lot of tech, but like, boy, dude, like to do it in the who was it? It was Arnie. It was Arnie that went ahead and broke the record in 2020 during the pandemic, right?
I forget who did it during the pandemic, but they had that Ford Taurus, or no, they had the Audi S6 painted like the Ford Taurus.
They designed to, yeah, it looked exactly like a Ford Taurus show. I'm like, that is one of the most brilliant ideas.
And they put the helicopter radar system in the car.
Yeah, I mean the budget must have been insane.
Like,
for them. It must have been
that was like a
so
$200,000 Audi S6. Yeah.
It was a $200,000 Audi S6 that they probably sold for $50,000. It's insane.
They would have to keep that car forever. That's so.
I think they did, and I'm glad that they did because that actually is a piece of automotive history. But like,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that they went ahead and ran the Cannonball from New York to LA. Didn't they do it in like maybe 26 hours?
They did it.
Yeah,
it was
right?
just over a day they did it. Yeah,
bro.
Yeah.
And now, granted, it was during the pandemic. There wasn't that many people out on the road and things of that nature and whatnot. But like,
they averaged like 118 miles an hour or something across the
whole. Bro, how insane is that?
To average that, like
average 118 is crazy.
Every moment you stop, like to like at a stoplight if you have to in like a crowded area. Like,
Yeah.
you're at like at that point you have to like make that up by going over 118 miles an hour for the same amount of time you were going under. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, at some point you had to go ahead and been doing like 160 down the freeway for a long period of time,
Just
and
to
you're
make up for like one minor stop. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just unreal. And then like you have to have what, like maybe two additional fuel tanks because like there's no way that you can go ahead and do it on one. If you're doing it on one, averaging 118, that means you're stopping every like you're probably stopping like every hour and a half, 2 hours or something like that. It
Wouldn't
just
that be a cool way to measure these cannonball records? Because
yes,
if you
it
think about it,
would. I think we should do.
it's the same.
I want to do it for
Yeah,
the science of it.
yeah, it's the same distance, the same start stop location. So you could really boil it down to, instead of saying, "Oh, this took 23 hours," I averaged 118 miles an hour the whole way. I averaged because the record 3 records ago was 118. The record now has to be like 120 something.
That's insane. Like, and the funny thing is that it's going up by increments and whatnot. So to think to yourself, okay, so they went up by an average of 2 miles an hour. That means that at some point were they cooking at like 180? And for how long were they going 180 miles an hour for? Which is insane. And then additionally, like,
Or are these records like half of a mile an hour apart? Because that stacked up over that many miles would be like 2 hours. You know.
this listen, let me tell you something right now. If I were to go ahead, if you and I were to go ahead and pull off a cannonball run, we're not doing it for you and me. No, no, no. It's not for us.
Yeah.
It's for the people who are asking these legitimate scientific questions, these
This is
research
true.
related questions. Listen, I saw the Artemis come in at 5:20, and I think it was like what, like 30 seconds off the actual time, which is absolute insanity. Science. We should go ahead and do the science for the next cannonball run. I don't see anything wrong with it.
No, I don't either. I don't either. I think we need to start some kind of another pandemic so that way we
Yo,
can so we have the roads to ourselves.
amen to that, bro. Amen to that. Tell me about it. Like, hopefully nobody gets actually sick and whatnot. So we just create a
Yeah,
fake
yeah, yeah.
pandemic.
That
Yeah, yeah.
aside, yeah.
That's
Maybe a big
so good.
scare. Maybe a big
Maybe a
scare.
big
We just need
scare.
like
We
we
just
need
need a
25
week.
hours.
Boom.
Yeah.
We need a week so
We
we
have
can go
25
ahead and
hours and a
actually
Focus
get prepped.
ST.
And then we just take a full day to go ahead and run this thing. That's amazing. It's so
Yeah.
good.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I gotta ask you then. So, you know, you get whatever budget. Let's go. You have to have a reasonable budget to go ahead and be able to do this and whatnot. You look at everything right now. What to you is the perfect cannonball run car?
I think you can outfit any car to be able to do it. Like
Agreed.
somebody did it in a pickup truck. I think that was the most recent record. Was somebody that had a fully like
Interesting.
stocked up where they had gas tanks in the bed of the truck. They
Smart.
never had to stop for
Agreed.
gas, like all that stuff. But like they were able to like I don't think that the average speed you need to maintain is out of reach for any car if you have the ability to modify it. So at that
Yeah.
point, you just like what would be cool to do?
Well,
You
so
know,
when was it? This was like 3 weeks ago when you went ahead and put up the. I remember I commented in the things, and you were talking about the Escalade V. You were talking about like the Escalade V. People are losing a lot of money on them and
dude,
whatnot. And
that'd be a gangster car.
that's actually not a terrible. If people are losing the money, that's not a bad way to go ahead and spend 140 grand and be like, okay, this might be all the car we need, bruh. Like we don't, because you don't have to add any additional power. Literally, all you're doing is adding fuel tanks to that SUV, and you're cooking. And you've
That's all
got
you need.
all the
Yeah.
room in the world. You've got all the room in the world.
And you can watch YouTube while you're doing it. You put cruise control on and watch YouTube, and the thing steers itself, and you just sit there and let it break. So the first AI cannonball record
Yeah.
is Cadillac self-driving.
Hashtag for science, bro. This is for
Yeah.
science. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too good, dude. Oh my god, dude. Let me tell you something. This has been a blast having you. It's been amazing. I've got a couple questions that I want to go ahead and ask you really quickly before we go ahead and wrap it on up tonight because it's been an absolute blast. I'm so grateful for your time this evening. I truly am.
You as well, bro.
Dude, you're the man. I appreciate that. That means a lot. I gotta ask you, dude, is there any car out there that you're looking at right now that maybe people aren't paying attention to quite as much yet? That's got you thinking that's a car to go ahead and look at, check in on, buy that now before it starts to get a little bit out of control. Is there anything that you're paying attention to?
if you had asked me this like 3 weeks ago, I would have said these like 911 turbos, like the 997s, the manual ones.
Yeah,
But like the auction prices recently on those have gone through the roof. So
they're
it's hard
gone.
to even say that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's hard to even say those. Like right now, the market's so weird. There's good buys where I think things make sense for the money, but to name one car where I think over all else as an investment, I think it takes a lot of money down. I think it'd have to be a Veyron. You'd that's the one car that is going to make more money than any other car I think that you can buy right now, but it takes $2 million to get into that.
Yeah.
But
I
I mean,
mean, speaking of
that's the
Ed,
one that comes to mind.
yeah,
Yeah,
Ed
Ed got
Ed
in at
bought
the
his
right
at
price,
under a
bro.
million. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but he had to
He
pay.
is up.
He got in and he had to go ahead and spend 900 grand on a Veyron. It's like, oh, bro, what are we doing here? But you might be right. Veyrons are so interesting, bro. They're so interesting because they were so expensive. They were so expensive in 2006.
Oh,
And
totally.
now, compared to all the stuff out there, they are quote unquote a bargain. And you think to yourself, since when did 900 grand become a bargain? But if you get into that now, all of a sudden in 10, 15 years' time, that might be worth, as you said, 2 to 3 milli at the least. And
Oh,
that
dude.
was our Concorde. That was our Concorde.
These things are the base Veyrons are 2 million like right now. That car is gonna be $10 million one day, bro. That's my guess. I
Yeah, dude.
genuinely think that. I
Yeah.
mean, it's the first car since the McLaren F1 where when it came out, it was so clearly the best car,
Yep.
number one. That was it. And everything below it was like a whole league below it. That
Yeah.
like that car came out and it just ran shit, bro. Like it was the number one car that you could get in the world, and there was no debate about it. Like by the time the next set of cars came out that could compete with that, it was like LaFerrari P1 918. Like that was the next like
And they
mind
still weren't
blowing.
top speed wise anywhere close to it.
Right, and they were all like competing with one another, so there was no clear winner. And since that time has happened, there is no clear winner now. But when
Yes.
The Veyron was the last car to hold like the top spot, top dog of everything. And then like since then, like there hasn't been a top dog. So it's to me, it's still top dog. It's the OG,
That's such a
still top
weird
dog.
that what an interesting way to describe that. Like the Veyron was the king of the hypers, and then right now in 2026, there is no king of the hypers because they are all almost so evenly matched. Nothing fully sticks out. On like maybe the Gordon Murray T50, but not everybody is
You could
enamored
say
by that
Valkyrie
car.
though. You could say Valkyrie, and I could be like the Valkyrie is also the McLaren F1
Sure, you
equivalent.
could say that. You could go ahead and say the Yesco, or you could go ahead and say the new Zinger,
Yeah.
right?
So
Which is
it's like the Bugatti was like the king of England, and now it has the Parliament.
yeah,
You know what I
dude.
mean? It was the last king before they decided that democracy was the way to go with it.
Right, that's so true. I am curious to know and see how Tourbillon, when it finally drops in the next like year, how that's going to be really interesting because it's going to go ahead and be a V16 with no turbos.
It's gonna be so sick. Yeah,
It's going
that
to be
car's gonna be so
kind of
cool.
ridiculous. It's going to be like, oh wow. Like I've said this for a long time, Mate might be the best CEO in all of automotive.
Yeah, he could be. He's
He
really
could be.
cool.
He's like Christian's cool. Christian Van Koenigsegg is amazing. Rob Dickinson over at Singer, Singer Reimagined is pretty cool too. Their Top Gear special that they went ahead and did on the three of them was too great to watch. Highly recommend anybody if you haven't watched it, go check it out on YouTube. Jim Farley is obviously like really awesome over at Ford.
Jim
Um,
Farley's great. Yeah, CVK is great too. I think Koenigsegg has
CVK
to
is
be
awesome.
number one.
CVK is cool. CVK is
Yeah,
cool. You know, Winkleman, you can't really hate on Winkleman.
he a
Stefan
mob
Winkleman,
boss.
I ain't mad at him. He's
He
doing
stepped
cool
in the
stuff over at
room.
Lambo. Yeah,
Yeah,
Stefan's cool. Even Mary over at GM, dude. I always forget her last name, but the CEO of General Motors right now. I mean, she put her stamp on a ZR1 and ZR1X.
yeah, 100%. I think
How
whoever's
good
running Toyota is probably my MVP right now.
we have a GR Corolla out there, GR Supra,
We have
and
a
a
GR
GR86.
Corolla. We have an amazing looking Tacoma.
Yep.
Like yeah, and then the GRGT, and then
Oh,
they made
dude,
the
I'm excited for that car.
and yeah, that car's been sick in the LC 500s recently. I mean, they've been killing it. So Toyota, yeah, shout out Toyota, man.
Nah, shout out to Toyota. If only Nissan could go ahead and get their heads out of their asses and bring in the R36 whenever that might be, I'd be a happy man. Jack, it's been
Yeah,
so fun to have you on. Let me ask you this. I haven't asked this question in a long time to any of my guests. And since you're a first-time guest with Tormenting Tarmac, I gotta ask you, brother. You're heavily invested into the game, obviously. You're doing your Boss Time CEO Instagram account. You've got your YouTube channel as well, where you're putting up a couple of videos and stuff like that. Good fun stuff that you're doing. I'm like, I see you, and I'm like, all right, living your best life. I need to live my life a little bit better, indeed. But what does car culture mean to you, man?
oh man, I think it's like with how much cars cost and how much it takes to get into a car for someone, that is usually like a full expression of like a person. Like when you see
Mm.
someone's car, like it's given their budget, which is you put that to the side. Like you can look at someone, the amount of money they spent and what they choose to spend it on. It says a lot about their personality. So I think it's just like expression and like your ability to like show up in a different way than other people. And it, like I said, the money you spend doesn't matter. It's just like how you spend the money you have is like that's the coolest part about it. I think like in car culture. So yeah, I guess it's like the expression of it, like the way people like make a car their personality.
I love that answer. That is such a good answer. And again, every single time I ask somebody what car culture means to them, they always give me a different answer, and I love the fact that they do because everything
Yeah,
it's always different to somebody. But at the end of the day, we all do it for the love of the game. And as you said, like your personality matters. However, it's like put out there through whatever you own or whatever you love. Because obviously, you can be a car enthusiast, and maybe you're just going through different things in your life right now, and so you don't have an enthusiast car, but like you have a certain like personality or the way that you act or the way that something represents you, and it's like, oh, okay, I can see why this person loves the type of car that they absolutely love and things of that nature. So I'm so happy that you were able to go ahead and describe it that way, and I'm more so happy that you got a chance to go ahead and come on the podcast tonight, my dude, and take some time and hang out. We've been looking forward to this one for a long time, and I'm glad that we finally made it happen. So thank you so much for hanging out with me, brother. I really appreciate
thank,
you.
thank you for having me, bro. It's been awesome. So I
Dude, of
appreciate
course,
it.
of course. Well, if you're interested, make sure you go ahead and be following Jack on Instagram. He's at Boss Time CEO. It's again a really fun Instagram account. And more so if you want to deeply nerd out on, just the market. The market's a fun. Listen, if there was ever a time to go ahead and be looking at fun numbers and stuff like that, or get mad at numbers, it's when we're looking at it from a car perspective, right, bro? Like
Yeah,
just you can't crash out because you have to realize like this is just the market, like it's not our fault, right? We didn't do this, you know. But at the same time, it's really interesting to go ahead and see where we're at and when to like if you got some cash in your pocket, where's the right place to park it. You know what I mean? I think that's
for
so
sure, man.
important, because at the end of the day, if you got the money and you want to spend it on the right car, buy it and don't store it. Drive it, pull a jack, drive it all the way from Wisconsin all the way to Georgia with all your stuff stuffed up to the brim. You know what I mean? Daily drive it. Daily drive what looks to be a Formula 3 car around Atlanta. Let's go, bro. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to go ahead and see when you take delivery of this thing, dude. This is going to be crazy, bro.
You gotta pull up, bro. You gotta pull up and get some content
Oh,
for sure.
100%. I will definitely, what? That would be a great reason to go ahead and fly to Atlanta. A hundred
Fuck yeah,
percent.
let's
All
do it.
right, dude. We'll make it happen. But yeah, that's Jack Murphy. And again, thank you for your time, brother. At Boss Time
Thank
CEO
you,
is where you
bro.
can find him on Instagram. And you can, of course, find us on Instagram at Tormenting Tarmac. And we're streaming on Apple and Spotify and all those good places. And you can go ahead and check out our YouTube channel as well at Tormenting Tarmac. Be sure to go ahead and check out Jack's YouTube channel as well, Boss Time CEO as well. But that's all. That's all we got for now. So again, on behalf of Jack Murphy, my name is Jorge Aquino, and you have all been listening to Tormenting Tarmac. It is indeed the podcast where the enthusiast never dies. Good night, everybody.